Om Smriti-Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat-Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Nama Pranavarthaye Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Good. I am. We will continue with the Bashyam where we left off. Tametamartham
Tametamartham
Dvitiyavara Prapti Api Akritarthvam
Vittiyavara Prapti Api
Akritarthvam
Akritartham
Tritiyavara
Akritartham
Gocharam
Tritiyavara Gocharam
Atmajnana Mantarena
Atmajnana
Atmajnanamantarena
Akhyayikaya Prapanchayati
Ityakhyayikaya Prapanchayati
Ikaya Prapanchanti. The story continues, details. What does it detail? Atmajnana Mantarena, the topic of the subject of Atmajnanam. Because the first, up to now, the boons that he got have nothing to do with Atmajnana. They are all na Atma Tattva Vishaya Yathatmya Vijnanam. To understand the reality of the self is Atmajnana. That is all moksha is. So many people say so many different things about Atma. That's why later he will say that after the body falls, body is what I recognize. What is the body, mind, intellect, etc. is pratyaksham. That is what we recognize. But what happens when that is destroyed? When dust gets into dust, the Sukshma Sharira is not visible, not available for perception. What happens? Everybody has a theory. Every philosophy has some kind of a conjecture about what happens. What is there an Atma? Is there no Atma? Is there something that survives the body? What happens to that? Where does it go? How does it go? What determines where it goes? When in our culture, when somebody dies, we don't say RIP, may your soul rest in peace. That's nothing, it's meaningless. We do say something different. We talk about the Sadgati. The understanding is that Shastra says that which survives the body travels. Gita also we've seen last prayanam. the travel at the end of that life, the Janma. There is a travel, according to our Shastras, which also gets interpreted in different ways. But it clearly says that survivor of the death of the body travels. That is why the idea of lokas come. Now clearly when whatever is the sukshma sharira that travels, it is like completely written software. All that jiva has done is embedded there. So that is what travels. But it is sukshma. It has to acquire another body. And that body has to be appropriate for whichever loka that jiva travels to. Clearly, this body is given up here, either buried or burnt or whatever. So it needs another body, another housing. And that housing has to be appropriate for whatever prarabdha is assigned to that. A frog has a different prarabdha. A jiva might get a frog sharira depending upon the prarabdha assigned. There also, as you've seen, variations are there. If the jiva, even if it is reborn as a frog, acquires the body of a frog, it could be dependent upon where it goes. If that frog gets born in France, God help you. You will be, there'll be something called frog leg soup. Depends upon where you're born. Very important. So the jiva travels. Now, every religion in some fashion says something survives the body. What is that something? What form does it take? What happens to it? Where does it go? But some people have a point of view that it's only a point of view, a conclusion that people have drawn. And many times you've seen that what you observe and the conclusion you draw have no relationship. But they have drawn a conclusion that the body is gone, it's gone. Sarvakas. That's all. There is nothing else. Because I can't see anything else. But religion, if you look at every religion, it all says there is something called ancestor, there is something called, in some form, that surviving Atma takes shape. So this is what causes confusion. Because there is no way of verifying it. There is no, we are so dependent upon our pancha senses, panchendriyas, which is all we know. If I can't see it, it is not there. But I know it is there because I can conclude by looking at many other things. Something is there. What is it? I don't know. Our dependence on these five senses drives us to make certain conclusions. And then somebody asks you a logical question. If you say, I can't see the Atma, therefore there's no Atma, then you ask him, what causes the difference between the various jivas that are born at the same time in the same place? You go to a maternity home, there are children being born every day there. And the large maternity hospital, there are many of them. At the same time, around that also a lot of children are born. No two child is alike. In terms of parentage, in terms of the facility in which they are born, in terms of physical size and shape, in terms of the health conditions, in terms of mental development, in terms of, of any diseases. No two children are the same. What causes the difference? How do you explain the difference? Is it purely random? Then you ask these questions, you make person think, and if you already concluded, like I said, that there is nothing surviving, then he desperately tries to find a explanation to fit his theory. And if you keep piling up with more and more questions of similar nature, he only gets angry. Because he can't do anything else. He's only working on a faith. So that there is something that survives the physical body. We all know the physical body will die. Sooner or later it has to go, and the body is left behind, something else leaves it. And as long as the physical body is there is this Kriya, Karaka, Phala combination is always there. What we are looking for is something which is independent of Kriya, Karaka, Phala. So, any karma that you do, as long as the physical sharira is there, karma is done all the time. You can't be there without doing karma even for a moment. If the karma has to be produced, there has to be some karta and all the karakas. Therefore, what survives this body is not dependent on Kriya Karaka Phala. What can it be? Only possibility is if it is something which is already an existent vastu, all I have to do is know what that vastu is. I said very simply, all I have to do is know what the vastu is, but you know how difficult it is to find that out. Dharmaraja will tell Nachiketa also that dharma is very, very difficult. It is sukshmam, ati sukshmam. This, whatever it is, give it whatever name you want, is free of this karya, karta, etc., karaka, etc. If it is free, then the only way we can understand is that it has to be only knowing it. It is already an existent thing. That is the start, this part is the start of the inquiry into that. What is that survived which is free of Kriya, Karaka, Phala? It has nothing to do with karma. Karma you do to get something, achieve something which is not there with you already. Here, we are talking about something which is already existent, therefore no Kriya is involved. No Karta is involved. It is pure Jnanam. That is called moksha. Jnanameva moksha. We saw previously, Acharya said, Tad viparita brahmatmaikatva vijnanam kriyakaraka phala adhyarupena lakshana shunyam. It defined as atyantika nishreyasa prayojanam. And that has to be told. Vaktavyam. Iti uttara grantha arabhyate. The Uttara Grantha that has to come now. Because that has to be known, that which is different from all those things that are dependent in this Jagat on Kriya Karaka Phala. which are adhyaropa. So that which is kriya karaka phala adhyaropena lakshana shunyam. Don't have that characteristics of the kriya karaka phala lakshanam. Which is moksha, nishreyasa, atyantika nishreyasa prayojanam vaktavyam. Therefore, the third boon onwards. He said, tam etam artham dvitiya vara prapti api akrtatvam. See, if kartritvam is what we have. We say, I have to do this. This has to be done, this has to be done, this has to be done by me. I have to do this, I have to gain this, I have to achieve this. That is our normal words that we use for everything that we have to do. Because I have to do this, I have to gain this, I have to do this. And that cycle of samsara, do something, gain something, do something again, gain something, do something again, gain something, because that I want is there all the time because of the ajnanam which leads us to believe that I am limited. Everything comes down to that only. That I am limited is the starting point, which is ajnanam, and that I am limited leads me to try and improve that situation. By saying, if I get this, maybe it'll become better. If I have to get this, I have to do this karma. I have to do this action. So, that viparitam atyantika nishreyasa prayojanam vaktavyam iti uttara grantham arabhyate. From the third boon on. Tam etamartham dvitiya vara prapti api akritatartham. Therefore, we want to reach the state where I don't need to do anything. I've done whatever is to be done. Kritakritartha. Whatever is to be done is done. I have no more need to do anything. When can that happen? That can happen only in reality if I am actually Purnaha. If I am Purnaha, I don't need to do anything. My drive to do something is because I want to change this conception that I have that I am limited. I am limited in every way I can think of. Where does that come from? Comes from the misconception which says, I am this body-mind sense complex. As long as you have that conception, you can never be complete. More has to be done, 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 because it is always limited. Whether I have achieved nothing as per the samsara perception in my life, I've been a dud, or I have achieved so much. I've won Nobel Prize. At the same time, I've been a great sportsman. I have best collection of original paintings. I've done all that. I have a lot of material wealth. I have a great family. I know all the way up to 4 or 5 generations in my family. I have everything. I know all the kala. It doesn't matter whether you are a nobody in terms of achievement or somebody who is the biggest achiever. That sense of saying, I'm limited, I have to do more, never goes away. That akritartatvam, because something is done, is incomplete. I still have to do something, do something, do something. The driving force is ajnanam-based sense of limitation. So, dvitiya vara prapti api akritartham. Even though I get all the lokas, I've done all the things that Veda has told me I should do. The Karma Kanda has prescribed so many things for me to do, and I've done everything. And I am ready to attain other lokas after the death of this body. But I'm still not Kathakritagnya. Therefore, Tritiya Gocharam
तृतीयवर्गोचरम्
Atmajnanamantarena
आत्मज्ञानमन्तरेण
आत्मज्ञानान्तरेण
आख्यायिकया प्रपञ्चयति
इत्याख्यायिका
प्रपञ्चयति
प्रपञ्चयति
यतः
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 पूर्वस्मात् कर्मगोचरात्
पूर्वस्मात्
पूर्वस्मात्
कर्मगोचरात्
कर्मगोचरात्
साध्यसाधनलक्षणात्
साध्यसाधनलक्षणात्
अनित्यात्
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 विरक्तस्य आत्मज्ञाने
विरक्तस्य
विरक्तस्य आत्मज्ञाने
अधिकार इति
अधिकार इति
तन्निन्दार्थं
तन्निन्दार्थं
पुत्रादि उपन्यासेन
पुत्रादि उपन्यासेन
प्रलोभनं क्रियते
प्रलोभनं क्रियते
प्रलोभनं क्रियते. What does Yamadharmaraja do? Puts a lot of temptation in the way of Nachiketa. Nachiketa asks for the third bone, which is really Atmajnanam. Although his wording is a little, I would say, hazy, but that's all he knew. He knew there was something to be learned. And Yamadharmaraja, Pralobanam Kriyate, puts temptation on his way, saying, look, don't go there. That's not easy. I will give you everything. Nachiketa rejects all of them. What does he give? Putradi upanyasena. All this, that world, material things, other things that we can gain in the world, all of them he offers. Nachiketa says no. And this is shown in the Akyayika because you want to show that the ninda of these things might give you a certain anitya satisfaction, achieving big things. Big things as seen from within samsara might give you some satisfaction, will give you some satisfaction, but it is anitya. Any great achievement. And each individual has certain level of achievement. There's nobody on this earth who has not achieved something or the other. When I wanted to do MBA, one of the questions that the interviewer asked, very interesting. He said, what are the 3 most important achievements in your life? Many people said all sort of things. And later, when after I had joined the course and was quite friendly with the professor, he told us that one young fellow, what does a young fellow come and tell you? You go to learn MBA maybe in your early 20s. You're asked, in fact, something everybody can think about. What are the 3 biggest achievements in your life? And he said, his biggest achievement, number 1, was that when he was going to work, there were 7 or 9 traffic lights on the way. His biggest achievement was that he found a route by which he reduced the number of traffic lights to 2. Biggest achievement in life. What is mine? What is the achievement? But it doesn't matter whether that is the achievement in life Or the biggest achievement at 25, I'm already a mathematical genius. I won the World Maths Olympiad or whatever it is that I've done. I remain the same. But I want, like a background Shruti, constantly that is pushing us. Some people leave it at simply, I just want to maybe get my next meal to have this body survive. Some people push it much harder. But all of us in the same boat. I want. If you want, then somebody can tempt you and say, okay, I'll give you this. So, Putradi upanyasena pralobhanam kriyate. For what? Tannindartham. To show the valuelessness of those things. Purasvat karma gocharat, whatever is given in the karma kanda. Karma kanda gives you all the ways and means. Do this, you will get this. So whatever I want to get, I can follow the rules set down by karma kanda of the Veda. Veda itself tells you. Anything at all. All of them, they are sadhya sadhana lakshanat. All I have to do with, I do this, I gain this. I do this, I gain this. Karma kanda tells you all of that. I start with the thing saying that I want to have vitta, wealth. So, okay, here is what you do. I want putra. Here is what you do. All our bonds, Shastra has divided into three only. Vittaishana, Putraishana, and Lokaishana. You look at anything, this thing that we define as Artha Kama Dharma. I want Vitta, security. I want Putra, progeny. I want a family. I want to be remembered. I want to leave something behind. How will my name carry on after this body dies? Or I want to go to some loka after the death of the body. Vittaishana, Putraishana, Lokaishana. The desire for these, everything is clubbed into these three. But as long as you have a desire for all of these, you're stuck in samsara. Therefore, he says, Sadhya sadhana lakshanat, and all of them are anitya. Even lokas we know are, from our Martyaloka perspective, of a very long term, but still anitya. Sadhya sadhana lakshanat anityat viraktasya atmajnane adhikareti. Viraktasya is not that, I forced myself to give up something. Virakti bhava is, I eschew something, I don't want it. Not because Shastra tells me you have to be desireless, but because I know as long as I have that desire pushing me to do things, I am not going to gain totality, purnatvam. That is going to keep pulling me away from moksha jnanam. Therefore, this virakti is a sense of feeling and understanding that all of those things, sadhya sadhana lakshana, all those things I've achieved are, relatively speaking, valueless. They have no A beautiful example that we've been discussing in the other class. Because of our own ajnanam. Why do we choose that? Because I don't know something better exists. A small 3-year-old child on his birthday is offered, on the one hand, a nice chocolate or an ice cream, and the other hand is offered a credit card, fully loaded, everything available. What does the child choose? Your birthday today, baby, take what you want. You have a choice of taking this ice cream or you want. What do you think the child will choose? Ice cream. Are we all not in the same boat? Because we don't know the value of something else and the relative valuelessness of vitta, etc. Therefore, we constantly choose that. That is also because it's not so easy to understand that something like this available. Moksha jnanam is going to give me everything. That is why you say, having gone moksha, you don't need anything else. Having understood moksha, you don't need anything else. There's always a doubt in the mind. I have complete shraddha in the Shastra. Shastra says moksha jnanam is the only thing. Is it total? Having got that, you don't need anything else. But my conviction, my understanding, because it is understanding, it's not belief. I don't believe what the Shastra says. Therefore, it's not faith, it's not trust, it is shraddha. I know it is true. It is knowledge. Only then will I have the virakti for all the other things. And the beauty of this, I keep repeating, is not that you can't enjoy these things, but enjoy them with a clear knowledge that that is not my goal. That there is something really that I have to understand. Not gain, not prapti, but simply understanding. What will happen? Suppose I do that, I develop virakti for all these. I don't think, I don't want any of these. Therefore, I don't enjoy them. I lose this also. And then if that is not true, if they're not available, although I have Shraddha in the Shastra, suppose it is not correct. Because there are so many people in the world who say it's not correct. And they have a lot of logic to present to you. Why it is not correct. But suppose it is like that. Then I'll be total loser. I won't get this, I won't get that. Because there's nothing to get there. That's according to some people. Therefore, I'm Ubhyabhrashta. Only when that clarity of knowledge is there, will that virakti bhava for anything which is sadhya sadhana will be there in the mind. Tatiya varagocharam atmajnanantarena akhyayaka prapanchayati. Detail. Therefore, this Upanishad in the form of a story tells us in detail there's such a thing available. Who will read the Upanishad? Only to begin with, somebody has a Shraddha. Otherwise, you won't never read the Upanishad. So you start with Shraddha. Sadhya sadhana lakshanat anityat viraktasya atmajnane adhikarayati. Therefore, you develop an adhikaritvam for atmajnanam. Viveka vairagya shakka sampatti mokshutvam. That vairagyam is pure knowledge. So, atmajnane adhikareti tan nindartham. Tat means here what? the sadhana vastu. Anything that I can gain in this jagat. For that, I have to have clarity of the valuelessness to me who is only interested in moksha jnanam. Whatever temptation comes my way, it's only possible when I have complete confidence, complete shraddha in the Shastra. We will see this now as we go, how Nachiketa reacts to these things. Therefore, Shankaracharya starts the next verse with a sentence which is a connecting sentence. Nachiketaha
नचिकेताः
uvacha
उवाच
tritiyam varam nachiketo vrinishva ityuktah san.
तृतीयं वरं नचिकेतो वृणीष्वे इत्युक्तः सन्.
What does it do? Yamdharmaraja had told him, Tritiyam varam nachiketo vrinishva. So he's connecting from there. Having been told by Yamadharmaraja, you still have one more boon to encash. Please ask for that. So, in answer to that, Nachiketa uvacha. What does it say? Yeyam prete vichikitsa manushye.
येयं प्रेते
विचिकित्सा मनुष्ये
Asti ityeke nayamastiti chaike.
अस्ति
नायमस्तीति चैके
Etad vidyam anushishtastvayaham. Etad vidyam anushishtastvayaham.
एतद्विद्यामनुशिष्टस्त्वयाहम्
Varanamev varastritiyah.
ईशवरस्तृतीयः
This is my request for a third boon. Varanam esha varastritiyah. Varanam. Among the varas, 3 varas you offered to me, this is the third. Esha tritiya varaha. Of the varas that you offered to me, of the 3 varas, Varanam. This is the third boon that I asked for. What did I ask for? Etad vidyam anushishtatvayaham. I want to understand. You have to teach me. This is my request for a vara. Having been taught by you, I want to know this. Etad vidyam anushishtastvayaham. Tvaya anushishtaha aham etad vidyam. I need to know. What is that vidya is asking for? There is a question that he has in this, right? I want to know. What do you want to know? Yeyam prete vichikitsta manushye astityeke nayamastiti chaike. Manushye prete, after the death of the body, prete sati, ya iyam vichikitsa. There is this doubt. What is that? Ayam asti eke, na asti iti chaike, cha eke. Eke is a very interesting word itself. It's a plural of ek, one. How can there be plural of one? One itself is a singular. But some groups you can talk about the ones. So the teacher might say, the ones who have finished their homework can leave. You use the word once there, no? The ones who have not yet completed, please stay back and complete. once. Eke. So, Prete Sati. After the body has become, has died. Prete Sati. Manushye. Here, Manushye will refer to every living being. Manushya, because every living being has this process of the Shadvikara, ending with Nashya. When that happens, Nashya means Nashya of the body. The body will die. Prete Sati. All Manushyas, all beings, all Praninaha, all of them, what happens to them? That is my question. Iyam Vichikitsa. This is the doubt I want you to clear and I want you to teach me. What is that? Some people say, I am asti iti eke. Some people say there is something which survives the body. Body dies. Either burnt or buried or dropped into the ocean. In any case, the body goes back to where it came from, the Panchabhutas. But what happens? Is there something else? Asti iti eke. Some people say there is something else which survives the body. And some people say there isn't. The body dies at the end of everything. Therefore, please do whatever you want to enjoy yourself. Borrow as much money as you want. But once your body dies, nothing is there. How do you understand? Now remember, this is a very young boy asking this question. All of us, I'm absolutely sure that at some point or the other, we have had similar questions in our mind as we are growing up. What happens when a person dies? Because as we grow up, where some relative, somebody, elderly person dies in the family, and this question comes up in the mind of every child. And all of us, I'm sure, have gone through the thinking, what happens? Can I talk to him now? He was my great-grandfather. He was such a wonderful person. Every time I had any problem, the child says I could go to him and he would give me solutions. Every time my mother got angry with me, I could go to him. Can I continue to talk to him? He is dead, so what? Can I still talk to him? Every child has this question. Unfortunate thing is, since we don't find the correct answer, we make up our own answers. That's how you get these multiple possibilities of what happens. Starting from nothing is what happens because there's nothing, through to the absolute truth. Asti eke, na ayam asti iti chaike, iti cha eke. Big question he's asking. He might start like every other child with the same thought, but he hangs on to that thought. What happens? Many times parents don't know what to tell the child when a child asks. I'm sure many children, many of you have been asked by your children or grandchildren, or some nephews or nieces or whatever. What happens? What happens? So people might say something like, oh, he becomes a star. One of millions of stars there, one of them your great-grandfather. He's become a star. Or he's gone to be with God. God has called them. Because they don't know any better. This is my third boon. Please make me understand what happens. Is there a, for want of a better word, we call it Atma? We will not call it soul. What happens to that Atma? Is there an Atma? Bashyam. Yeyam vichikitsa
येयं विचिकित्सा
samshayah
संशयः
prete
प्रेते
mrite manushye
कृते मनुष्ये
asti ityeke
अस्तीत्येके
asti sharirendriya manobuddhi vyatiriktah
अस्ति शरीरेन्द्रिय मनोबुद्धि
देहांतर संबंधी आत्मा
देहांतर संबंध्यात्मा
इत्येके मन्यन्ते.
इत्येके मन्यन्ते.
Eke is plural, I told you, therefore manyante, plural, not manyate. Manyate. Yem vichikitsa. Vichikitsa is samshaya. This doubt, what doubt? Prete, mrite manushye. After the sharira of anything has died. Sometimes you see also, a dead carcass lying there, maybe a dog or a whatever, and you start wondering what happened. The body is gone. Was there something which is still there, which survived? Can that be seen? Can that be captured? Can that be known? Some people say, Asti iti eke. Some people say, there is something. Some people might say, I don't know what there is, but there is something which survives. Asti sharira indriya mano buddhi vyatiriktaha. Something which is different from this, what I can see directly or indirectly. Sharira I can see directly, pratyaksham. But mano buddhi indriya, senses, mind, buddhi, etc., which are sukshma, I can't see, but I know they exist. That is how I'm different from a stone. That is how that dog which is lying on the street dead is now like a stone. But it was not like that before it died. So I know it is something is there. It had a mind. It could think that there is danger there, I shouldn't go there. So all that I can infer. Even though I can't pratyakshama see that. So, sharira, indriya, mano, buddhi, vyatiriktaha. Other than these, was something else there. Was something else there which energized this whole system. Because now it is not energized. Now it is jada. I can see it is jada. What energized it? What made it different from a stone? When an embryo is growing in the womb, it is just some fleshy material. Till some point where it becomes jiva. Science has been trying desperately to find out when that happens and why that happens. You remember the growth of an embryo in the mother's womb, up to a point, it is just flesh or whatever else the material is. It's material. But at some point in the process of 9 months, it becomes a jiva. There is an Upanishad, very little known, called Kathopanishad. That Upanishad details many of these things. Although it simply, there is now a field called Indian knowledge systems. I don't know how many of you have seen this happening now. There is a subject which is now studying all that knowledge that science has developed in the last few hundred years. It is available somewhere in our scriptures. And there are many things which have been discovered, which have been found that it is there already. A Pythagoras theorem attributed to Pythagoras is already written down. The distance between the sun and moon, earth and sun is already calculated and written down somewhere. NASA now calculates in their own fashion. Like that, there are many things. There's this field called Indian knowledge systems. I don't think anybody has really got down to studying childbirth. But maybe if somebody goes, see what happens, unfortunately, is the reverse process. When some science discovers something, then somebody comes, oh, I've seen this in the so-and-so text in Sanskrit. And that text was 1,000 years before this. Not first find out what is there in the text and then say, we can predict this, what's going to know. So the Kathopanishad, maybe somebody should study. Maybe there's more clue in this about how the child evolves. That the rest of the Sharira is formed, Sharira, mind, etc. are formed, but they are all energized by something. And that happens at some point of time. And what is it that energizes? What is it called? What are the properties of that? But it's different from Sharira, Indriya, Mano, Buddhi. You might have heard Nirvana Shatkam. Mano, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, Ahankam, Naham. I am not any of those. What is that I? I am not any of these. Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chittani, Naham. I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. What is then the I? Which is different from all this. Dehantara sambandhi atma iti eke manyante. There is such a thing, many people are of the opinion. Unfortunately, nobody can definitively say it is there or it is not there unless one studies the Shastra, one studies our Vedanta texts and understands them correctly. Nayamasti iti ek chaike.
Nayamevam vasti tichake.
Nayam evam vidaha asti
Nyayam
chaike.
eva
Vidaha asti.
Asti iti chaike.
Asti iti
iti
chaike.
So Nayam asti iti chaike, it explains, Acharya explains by saying, Na ayam evam vidaha asti iti cha eke. No, that is not true. There is nothing. Or there is something very different. Iti cha eke. There are others who say there is no such thing. Ataha
अतः
अस्माकं
अस्माकं
न प्रत्यक्षेण नापि वा अनुमानेन
न
न
प्रत्यक्षेण
प्रत्यक्षेण
नास्ति वा
नापि वा अनुमानेन
निर्णयविज्ञानं.
निर्णयविज्ञानम्
विज्ञानम्.
What is the pramana? Pratyaksha, anumana. We can't use that because I can't. All of these depend on our five senses. Seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting. And this, whatever it is not available for any of these. Indriya atitaha. Therefore, no pramana that I know can be used to determine the answer to this question. So he says, Ataha cha asmakam bias na pratyakshena na api va anumanena nirnaya vijnanam. This is not available because whatever it is not available to the senses. Etad vijnana adhinaha
विज्ञान अधीनः
hi parah purusharthaha.
हि
हि परः
परपुरुषार्थः
पुरुषार्थः.
This parah purushartha is moksha jnanam. That moksha jnanam I will get only by knowing this. This is dependent, my moksha is dependent on this jnanam. Moksha itself is dependent on this jnanam. Ityataha
इत्यतः
इत्यतः
etad vidyam vijaniyam.
एतद्विद्यां
विजानीयाम्
Therefore, this vidya I want to know. May I know? Aham anushishtah
अहम्
अहम्
अशिष्टः
अनुशिष्टः
ज्ञापितः
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 त्वया
त्वया
त्वया aham ज्ञापितः. Therefore, being taught by you, I being taught by you, that is what I want. I want you to teach me because this is not available for any of the pratyaksha or anumana pramana. And people raise all kinds of hypotheses on this. What is the correct situation? I want to know. Varanam esha varat tritiyah.
एष वरस्तृतीयः
अशिष्टः
Because I have one more boon left, this is my third boon. The Baki boon is the third boon. This is my boon. You have to teach me. You have to make me understand what happens after the physical body and the mind, etc. I can't see after they die. Is there something? If it is there, what is it? What is the nature of that? This is my third boon. Very mature boon. Starting from Ihaloka Ishtasvastu, family, Paraloka Ishtavastu, Svargaloka Sadhanam. He is now gone on to, from the basic Arthakama and Dharma to saying, I want to understand moksha. And moksha is a matter of understanding. There is no belief involved. You start with a certain shraddha, not belief. But then you need somebody to teach you. So, ones who have adequate punya will have access to this knowledge, will have access to a guru who can unfold this knowledge. Big ask. We will see how Yamadharmaraja responds. You saw that in the first two boons, promptly he said yours. You asked to go back. that your father should be happy seeing you, should not be frightened, given. That you want to learn that sadhana by which one can gain Swargaloka, wonderful, I'll give you. It's very complex, but I'll give you. And having been very pleased with the way you understood it, I'm also giving you additional bonus boon that this Vidya will be known by your name. How does he respond to Nachiketa's third boon saying, explain to me, is there an Atma? And what is the nature of the Atma? We will see that in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
नमस्ते गुरु
हरि ओम स्वामी जी।
Om
नमस्ते।